Just one game after falling to what at the time was a 6-win Detroit Pistons team, the Sacramento Kings come out in their very next matchup, face off against the defending champion Denver Nuggets. For what it's worth, without mainly and most notably Kentavious Caldwell-Pope and Michael Porter Jr., two important starters, obviously, on this defending championship team. But, I mean, would it really matter tonight? The Nuggets were on a second night of a back-to-back, which is worth noting. You know, they played in Golden State last night, but the Kings put up 135 on the Nuggets and simultaneously hold Denver to 106. And really, after that first quarter, the Kings took a lead and hardly seemed to look back. You know, they have a 10-point lead at halftime and then a dominant third quarter where they outscore the Nuggets by just 10 points, but hold them to 29. You put up 39 of your own from Sacramento's perspective. I think that's a really, really solid quarter, and they did it all over the board. I think it's very ironic, not only that it happened tonight, right after a tough loss to the Pistons, of course, but I think the fact that there was Monty McNair's press conference earlier today, and I actually asked him specifically kind of about some of the inconsistencies that this team has had and what he's seen and how he's felt about those inconsistencies. And McNair pointed towards, obviously, we have to be better on a night in and night out basis, but that he thinks that there's enough, I'm paraphrasing here, but like high highs that he's pretty encouraged about the potential long-term trajectory of this team. And it's wins like tonight that sell you on why they believe in, let's just see what this group can do before we really mess with it. You know, I think that this was Kings basketball. The three things, and you could see it on the back of some of their shirts this year for the training staff as they're warming guys up and things like that. It says play physical, play fast, and play together. And I felt like all of those things were going on tonight. Shout out to everybody joining me in the chat here, Sactown Sports post-game recap. Appreciate you guys hopping in here. Glad to take any questions as I kind of keep this conversation going today, whether you got deadline questions, whether you got specific to this game. Looking forward to a little bit of a tough schedule that the Kings got to deal with. But definitely happy to be interacting with you guys and appreciate everybody hopping in here. You know, the first stat that really stood out to me in this game is the ridiculous turnovers. And that really was from both sides. In that first half, I remember there being moments turned into Frankie Cardicelli sitting next to me or Whitey Gleason, some of our Sactown Sports guys, being like, God, this is ugly basketball. Lots of turnovers from both teams. And the Kings cleaned it up a bit. You know, at the end of that first half, for example, Denver, 10 turnovers. Sacramento, what's up, Cam? Excuse me. Jeez. Again, Denver, 10 turnovers in that first half. Sacramento, 9 in the first half. And you look at the second half, 6 for the Kings in the first half. I'm sorry, 7 for the Kings in the second half compared to 11 for the Nuggets in the second half. And the big difference is how much teams were able to score off the opposite turnovers. You know, you look at, again, Sacramento, 16 turnovers. The Nuggets get 19 points off that. That's solid. You know, it's an okay conversion rate. But then you go to the Kings. Denver has 21 turnovers. The Kings scored 37 points. 37 of their 135 off of turnovers. And 21 ties the season high for Denver this season. I think the Kings did a great job making them look uncomfortable. You know, again, playing physical. Last game, obviously a really, really tough showing, again, against the Pistons, and specifically defensively. And as we kind of asked about that, the theme was, you know, a lot of defense's effort. and discipline. And that's what was lacking in that game. And it was showed in full force tonight. And you hope that it doesn't take playing a great team for the team to be able to get themselves up with that sort of energy. But these are the teams that you got to beat. Like when it comes down to it in the postseason, this is an extremely, extremely encouraging win, I think, for the Kings. They did it exactly how you would want. And I think that, for example, Jokic post-ups, it looked like typically they were waiting until sometimes it was on the catch, but often it was maybe 2-3 dribbles before the Kings would send a double. And the following rotations from there, I thought were pretty clean. They definitely had some moments that needed to be cleaned up. I can think of a time where Keegan was in the weak side corner and his guy cut and got an easy look at the basket. Mike Brown instantly calls a timeout, calls Keegan over, has a conversation with him, assumedly about that defensive coverage. So obviously not a perfect game, but they always talking about wanting to put together as close to 48 minutes as possible. And I think that that's what we saw tonight. This is, I think, as close as you can reasonably expect as a bunch of fans. Definitely happy with this win, make their way out the stadium. So excuse any sort of background noise we may have going on here. But I mean, it was really just an all-around effort from the Sacramento group. They shoot 58% from the field and hold Denver to 46. They knock down 17 threes. The Kings come on 34 attempts. They knock down half of their threes. Guys, this has got to be somewhere near. We're going to check this live on stream. It's got to be somewhere near their. Actually, no, their season high is probably in the 20s. I think I remember them having some pretty big games. Oh, God, I'm not even close, actually. They've had 17 or more on 17 occasions, the Kings. But to do it on that many attempts, this is only the third time this season the Kings have shot 50% or better from three. So you look at some of these other times that they've made 17 plus threes. Again, tonight, 34 attempts, right? But you look at these other games, 48 attempts, 45, 44, 43, 41. The only under 40, 3-point attempt games, while they still made at least 17, there's a 35 attempt game, which is the next closest thing, really, to, and there is one 38-point game as well, or 38 3-point attempt game as well. So stellar shooting from the Kings tonight. I think that they benefited from knocking down shots, obviously, but they created good looks that I think made it easier for those to fall. And you really saw it be a group effort. There's a very free-flowing offense and equal opportunity offense that Sacramento plays within. And I think that tonight was one of the best examples of everybody taking advantage of that. It's not very often that you're going to have as many guys rolling as the Kings did tonight. You know, you have 4 starters scoring in double digits, everybody but Harrison Barnes, who only shot the ball 6 times but made half of those attempts. So all the other starters, again, except HB. Trey Lyles brings in 15. Alex Len has 11 off the bench. Malik Monk has a team-high 23 points off the bench on 9 of 13 shooting. Malik Monk has been so good for this team. Having another playmaker out there with Fox and Sabonis, specifically another perimeter playmaker next to Fox, I think is so important for this team and gives them some dynamic abilities offensively. And defenses can't key in on specific guys as much because it's not as simple as, oh, that, you know, sure, the spacing's there because this guy's a shooter, but we're not too worried about him putting the ball on the floor. That creates an entirely different dynamic for defenses to have to worry about. And I think that's why Malik playing well and De'Aaron playing well at the same time really tends to lead to pretty good results. And De'Aaron again tonight, big defensive game. I feel like we've been saying this for a little while. 5 steals tonight, guys. 5. He passed 600 career steals tonight, which is an impressive feat. And 15 points, 10 assists, 7 of 15 from the field. Like, this is really, I mean, a very solid game from De'Aaron Fox offensively. Managing the game, I would say. You call him Brock Purdy out there if you want, you know. And defensively, God, he keeps doing those wraparound steals that when I played, nothing agitated me more than those steals. When you think you're by somebody and then they just poke it out from behind, those would always be the most agitating to me. And De'Aaron's gotten so good at them. He pulls the chair out, the guy starts to fall back, and he reaches around, and he's got a long wingspan, pokes it out, and is gone. And teammates will find him in transition. And we saw that a couple of times tonight. I can think of both back-to-back possessions where I believe Domas both times. It may have only been one of the two, but De'Aaron got the steal, got found in transition, and was able to convert. And you really can go down the line here, guys. Malik, again, great performance. I will say the Alex Len, JaVale McGee thing is kind of interesting to me. And if I make it down there in time for Mike Brown, I do want to ask him about, just the differences between Alex Len, JaVale McGee, when he prefers to look in the direction of each, because I just think it should be Alex, personally. Like, I think that Len can provide a lot of the same things that JaVale does with less mistakes littered in between. And I think when you're talking about a guy that is only playing 12, 13 minutes a night, the last thing you want is, 2-3 really costly mistakes in those minutes. So I personally lean towards Alex. I thought that he was pretty good tonight, and I hope that he gets a spot in that rotation. Again, they stuck with Davion Mitchell also in that backup point guard spot for what it's worth. Keon Ellis obviously got signed to that. I believe it's 3-year, $5.5 million regular contract spot today after being on a two-way for all of this season. He was getting pretty close to that 50-game mark. I think tonight would have been 48, for example, that he would have been eligible to be active being on a two-way contract. So they convert him. Doesn't necessarily take the Kings out of the buyout market for what it's worth. If they wanted, they could look at somebody and waive just throwing names out, a Kessler Edwards, or if JaVale is being considered for that, or you never know. I'm just throwing names out. So I don't think it completely takes him out of the buyout market, but I don't know if I'm necessarily really expecting anything there. I think the most important thing is keep this going. Because they have good momentum that you can continue to build off of here. It's a tough stretch coming up for the Kings. There's not going to be any easy sledding. They play high caliber opponents. I think this is the first of 3 matchups with Denver in the next 8 games or so, kind of going off memory there. So I could be slightly off, but they're going to see Denver a couple more times, which it'll be interesting to see if you're able to continue this and repeat this success, because Denver is going to be very motivated coming into those next games, the same way that Sacramento was obviously very motivated coming into tonight after that loss against the Nuggets. I think that they wanted to be able to, correct just get the bad taste out of their mouth, really. And deadlines in the rear view. It probably helps some of these players' mentals. I think that it's a very normal human thing to they're going to hear some of these rumors, thinking of guys like, Kevin Huerter, Harrison Barnes, Davion Mitchell, that were constantly in rumors, and you can't not hear any of that stuff. And I think it's only human for it to bother you, and probably just, be in the back of your mind a little bit. And I don't know to what extent for each player, but I'd imagine there is at least a slight relief, even if they maybe don't want to exactly admit that publicly. And that's also understandable. But I think that it's good. And some people thought that maybe they'd go back to Keon Ellis tonight, now that, you don't have to worry about, you don't really have to worry about, got distracted. Sorry. Apparently they got Malik Monk and De'Aaron Fox together in the post game. Maybe I can pull this up here actually, and we together can listen to De'Aaron Fox and Malik Monk share the podium post game, because I'm sure that these are going to be great. Sorry, I'm getting this pulled up here now, guys. Share. Let's see. Sorry, guys. It's kind of a first for.
Hey guys, after what happened on Wednesday,
I'm not sure why I'm not
cleanse the palate,
really able to hear the audio
forward,
right now.
and
I think we're gonna have to wait on this one. Actually, my apologies, guys. Let's just kind of see how Twitter's been reacting to this loss, or I'm sorry, this win from the Kings tonight. Obviously, a pretty good one. And again, guys, if anybody has any sort of comments or questions in here, definitely happy to take those on and see what you guys have to say. Matt, anyone who says they understand the Sacramento Kings is a liar. Man, this team is just confusing. It's as confusing as it gets. By the way, can I point out just how tight Vivek has his shoes tied? That's all I'm gonna say. I like the jacket, Vivek, but your shoes are pretty tight, my guy. I mean, another great game. Again, Will Z stats here. Good numbers. De'Aaron Fox, another 5 steal game. 3.4 steals, guys, over his last 8 games. And I love that he puts the SGA picture, currently leading the league in steals. Fox also kind of joked when I asked him about some of his defensive improvement the other day that, a lot of his steals come on ball rather than off ball. And he said, like a lot of other guys. And, who knows if he was directly talking about SGA there, but, I think that there's definitely a world where that maybe played a part just slightly here as Mike Brown walks out onto the court with a handful of what looks like might be a high school basketball team or something like that. And they're going to take a picture here in the middle of the court. So let's keep going and see what else we got. You guys got anything in the comments today here? Yeah, Emmy, what's up, Emmy? Emmy mentions great Sasha game today, 18 plus points or plus 18 in his minutes. And, it was a really solid game from Sasha. It's going to be interesting to see if he can maintain his spot within the rotation moving forward. 16 minutes, 6 points, 2 of 4 from 3. You also have 0 of 3 on 2s, but I think that he does a great job cutting. The ball never sticks. I love watching him shoot the ball. I trust that it's going to go in more often than not when he's putting them up. And I think that he could deserve a little bit more run. They do a good job not switching him on to guys. And rarely when it happens, I think that he doesn't just get torched necessarily. It's kind of interesting. I think that there's even moments where if Sasha and Trey are sharing the floor together, that teams might try to target Trey also. And that's not to say Trey's a worse defender than Sasha or anything, but I don't think that they're that far apart, I guess, is what I'll really say there. And it's definitely going to be interesting to see moving forward because he definitely adds something to this team offensively. Omer, King's Herald buddy, that does a great job and is extremely smart, by the way, points out the bench scoring tonight. Kings definitely had a big night from their bench. Mentioned that a little bit earlier in this broadcast as well. And this is just a phenomenal game, guys. Also, Mason Jones, by the way, signed to that 2-way earlier in the year. But I think that's I'm going to try and make it down there for post game. Hopefully, catch a little bit of Mike Brown right now, who I think just left the court and is about to be headed over to the press conference room. So I'm going to try and get down there. But what a great game from the Kings. All around effort, great response, fast, together, physical, helps when you shoot well. Other team forced in a little bit of some turnovers. They're on a road trip, second night of a back-to-back, and without 2 of their starters, but there's plenty of nights where the Kings lose this game. And I think that it was great to see them step up and take advantage of, or just capitalize on an advantageous scenario. against a team that is the defending champion and still with what a lot of people think is the best player in the league, who they really managed to slow down a good bit tonight. So impressive showing from the Kings. Hopefully they can keep this up going forward as there's a tough stretch of their schedule here. But appreciate everybody hopping in, and be sure to enjoy your Super Bowl. Let's go Niners. And check out all the great work on SactownSports.com from myself, Frankie Cardicelli, Emil Fergroso, and plenty of other people on there as well. And radio station from hold on. Yeah, sorry. And check out radio Monday to Friday, Sactown Sports, 1140, 6 to 6. Appreciate you guys. Chris Watkins will probably be back for the next game. And thanks for letting me fill in here in the meantime. But have a good one, guys. Enjoy the beam.